Hello and welcome to HBM's Crypto Corner for Wednesday, January 15th, 2025. Even though I'm actually uploading this on Tuesday, because I have an announcement about Wednesday. So anyway, we got a few things to talk about, so let's get started. First of all, we have an article. This is a brand new article in the Relict Hominoid Inquiry, written by Robert Michael Pyle about the late Peter Byrne. There's some photos of Peter Byrne through the years. It's a really nice write-up. Now, Robert knew Peter Byrne, and he was a major, I guess, influence on Robert. Robert wrote quite a bit about him in his book, Where Bigfoot Walks, Crossing the Dark Divide. And Robert had quite a bit of admiration for Peter Byrne. I realize not everybody likes Peter Byrne, but hey, takes all kinds to make a world. I mean, I get it that some don't like him, but that's fine. I personally had no problem with him. And I'll include the link to this below in the description so you guys can read this for yourself. Now here was one I came across on Dr. Jeff Meldrum's Facebook page. Could island indigenous lore on Bigfoot help scientists prove its existence? New Cha Nulf have many stories about seeing Sasquatch and unique names for the creature. Here's a picture of Dr. Meldrum. This story starts down an abandoned Forest Service road deep in central New Cha Nulf First Nations territory on Vancouver Island. It was fall 2 or 3 years ago. Tyee Wilson Jack was bucking up a log for firewood when he saw something move on the right side of his periphery. Did something just stand up? Thought the Ucluit First Nation hereditary chief. I didn't want to turn my head, but I moved my eyes. I swore, it's a frickin' Buchemus. He's just watching me, Jack thought as he continued chopping. As he said to himself, I'm not going to panic. One more swing and I'm going to look. Thwack! Jack swung his axe and turned his head to look. The creature jumped off the stump it was standing on and hid. Jack said he heard the jump and saw the Buchemus as the Sasquatch, or Sasquatch as the bipedal hairy giant is commonly called, for 1 second from about 25 meters away. The hair on the face is long. The eyes are really dark and glassy, I guess. It was tall, just the way I saw it stand up. It was like easily over 7 feet tall. It was big, and the smell it left was stench, Jack recalls. Jack says elders always taught that if someone has experience with a Buchemus, they should leave it an offering. I left 6 pieces of chopped wood, I yelled. I'm leaving you this wood. Next morning, bright and early, Jack returned to the site of the encounter, and the wood was gone, but there were huge footprints. I didn't take any photos, damn it. I didn't think to bring my phone, said the 58-year-old. Jack shared other stories, too, of Macmillan Blodell lodgers hearing them in caves. A woman bumping into one at the Hitaku village at night, and on one occasion, when he did have his phone, Jack recorded a deep grunting noise. And Jeff Meldrum says there's 200 black bears for every Sasquatch, which could be true. Says the hoaxes are very transparent and that anyone with a little wherewithal and familiarity with anatomy and functional aspects of the primate and human foot could distinguish a real track from a fake. Finding a long line of tracks with successive tracks is really rare, Meldrum said. My privilege at looking at a long line of tracks was actually quite unique. I was so floored because at that time I was kind of ambivalent in my attitude towards the subject matter. I was intrigued but ambivalent and very skeptical. He admits that the lack of physical remains is frustrating but not surprising given the moist forest habitat, acidic soils, the presumed intelligence and caution of the track maker. It's the favorite piece of missing data the skeptics focus on and obsess with it to the exclusion of everything else, said Meldrum, who has faced criticism from his peers for decades due to the absence of fossil records. With the recent discovery of fossils from a small, extinct hominin species labeled Homo floresiensis hobbit on the Indonesia island of Flores, Meldrum says the scientific community is at least tolerating the possibility that Sasquatch might exist. Ratio, he thinks, is about every 200 black bears for every one Sasquatch. That's not just pulled out of the air. That's based on inferences drawn about analogy of their social structure, their size, the life history of great apes, and so forth, said Meldrum. Point being, have you ever talked to anyone who has found a black bear skeleton in the woods? Professor of evolutionary biology went on to compare the supposed social behavior of Sasquatch to orangutans. Male orangutans are primarily solitary and communicate with loud calls to advertise their presence and attract a female. I think that is probably a good analogy for Sasquatch because we have those ruckus loud calls, said Meldrum. The smoking gun? In May 2023, Darby Orcutt, the director of interdisciplinary partnerships at North Carolina State University Libraries, launched a curiosity-driven project approved by the Institutional Review Board called the Study of Allegedly Morphologically Anomalous Physical Samples. He put an open call out to anyone in the United States or Canada with unusual samples to offer for deeper analysis and genetic testing. Orcutt says they received more than 100 items to investigate, including hair, teeth, and even a body part his research team informally dubbed a hand paw thing. The DNA is really the gold standard today. It wouldn't matter how wonderful the trace evidence of apparent trackways were. That's never going to be what puts the scientific community or the general public over the top. But DNA, well, that's a different matter, said Orcutt over Zoom. If we were to find something interesting, that would really change the understanding of this topic. But that all depends on if there is a biological species underlying this phenomenon, and if someone offers an authentic sample of it, he said. The Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization sent Orcutt a cache of hair samples to work with. It's a sacred trust, really, said Orcutt. Real science takes a lot of time. We are bashing this up and very meticulously documenting each one. Unfortunately, Orcutt says the first analysis of 20 samples did not yield results, so they are using a different approach. The samples are not the freshest, he said. There is tremendous opportunity for indigenous communities to partner on this. The Bigfoot DNA study remains open to any offerings of unidentified specimens found in North America. Folks who submit samples can be identified by name or opt to keep their identity confidential. The other thing is we are not disclosing specific locations of things at all. We're not doing that under any circumstance. We might say this sample came from Saskatchewan or eastern Kentucky. That's about as specific as we'll get, Orcutt promised. It's kind of like fishing. We don't want to reveal their hiding hole. Orcutt went on to say that if they do find an undiscovered species, they will be careful and ethical with the reveal. So a very interesting article about Vancouver Island Sasquatch, or Buchemus. I pronounce it Buchemus. I think it's Buchemus. Anyhow, really good article. A tiny ape-like humanoid may still be living in plain sight, scientist says. Don't be shy, little guy. Flores, India is the home of scientific study of all small humans. Theories of retired Professor Gregory Forth continue to proliferate in the hope of finding a living Homo floresiensis. Forth's book spells out his multi-decade search for evidence of a continually living human-like species. The scientific community believes a small species of human known as Homo floresiensis once lived on the island of Flores, Indonesia, around 50,000 years ago. But one person thinks the ape-like humanoids could still live there. Evolution be damned. Think of this as a hunt for Bigfoot, only with a much smaller target. Gregory Forth has studied the Homo floresiensis for roughly 4 decades, first when at the University of Oxford and then the University of Alberta. He wrote a book in 2022, Between Ape and Human, an anthropologist on the trail of a hidden hominoid, and the debrief recently ran an interview with Forth on the quest. Forth still believes in the modern interpretation of what the locals call the lei hoa. What really interested me in the lei hoa is that it was small, like the figures in Neg country, Forth told the debrief, but it was reckoned still to be alive. And indeed, there were a few people around, it seemed, that claimed to have seen one or more. These creatures have a human-like upright gait, come hairier than humans but not as hairy as an ape, and have a distinct ape-like face, according to the Leo people's accounts to Forth. The professor's hopes of a living Homo floresiensis were emboldened at the finding of fossils roughly 20 years ago. When the report started coming out, I was quite amazed, he told the debrief, because what people were describing, what paleoanthropologists were describing and indeed reconstructing, sounded very much like what the Leo people had been describing to me the previous summer. Forth's book purports that these ape-like, ape-man creatures lived at least into modern times, and he believes credible sightings mean there's a chance a small population still exists. The search for a modern lei hoa presses on. So a really good article about Dr. Gregory Forth and his search for a smaller species of hominoid. It's terrific to see that we have at least one mainstream anthropologist who is open-minded about the possibilities of hairy hominoids still living today. Really good stuff. Now here's an article about a recent sighting that took place of a Sasquatch in Ohio, in the Buckeye State. Happened on December 28th of 2024, 3:30 p.m. BFRO report 78058. Hunter building deer stand reports Bigfoot sighting in Richland County. It was taking real long strides. His head was kind of down, moving down the hill. It had a big head, Andrew Baum says. Mansfield. Andrew Baum said he has spent much of his life in the outdoors. He had never seen anything like the creature he saw on December 28th in a Washington Township field. The 35-year-old Mansfield man, perched in a 17-foot-high tree stand, believes he saw a Bigfoot walking purposely and quickly across the open field about 1,000 feet from his position. It was taking real long strides. His head was kind of down, moving down the hill. It had a big head. I lost it when he walked to the tree line, the Mansfield native told Richland source. It's the third such area local sighting reported to Matt Moneymaker's Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization since 2021, with the previous 2 coming in Ashland County. Those encounters, coupled with a 2022 Bigfoot Base Camp weekend at Pleasant Hill Lake Park in Perrysville, have made north central Ohio more of a hotbed for Sasquatch sightings. So, really interesting article, if indeed this is credible, which it seems to be. Moneymaker seems to put a lot of faith in this report. I mean, the guy could be lying, we really don't know. The guy could have lied about it, but I don't know. Doesn't seem like he would lie about it. If he's a hunter that's been out there for a long time. But Moneymaker's been wrong before about stuff. He's been wrong several times. And I imagine he'll be wrong again in the future. But maybe he's not wrong about this. It's entirely possible. I don't rule it out. Now speaking of Gregory Forth, here's a review of his book Between Ape and Human, which was uploaded May 16, 2022. Here's Homo floresiensis, or Flores man, nicknamed Hobbit, is an extinct species in the genus Homo. On September 2nd, 2003, in a cave on the island of Flores in Indonesia, a team of Australian and Indonesian archaeologists discovered a tiny, nearly complete skeleton that looked like it might have been of a dwarf-sized early human. Over the next year or so, they recovered more skeletons and some parts of skeletons. By the year 2009, the count was up to 14 individuals for whom archaeologists had found whole or partial skeletal remains. Because many stone blades were also found in the fallen population of Flores includes no non-human primates, the scientists entertained the idea that the organic remains found beginning in 2003 are indeed those of creatures that were somewhat sentient. Initially, scientists pronounced all the skeletal remains as being around 12,000 years old. Later, the estimate has been revised upwards. Some seem to be as much as 100,000 years old. The youngest remains are believed to be about 60,000 years old. So goes science. Findings change as methods of measurement change. In his new book, Between Ape and Human, an anthropologist on the trail of a hidden hominoid, Gregory Forth sets out to disentangle the mysteries of the creatures who may or may not be descendants of Flores man. Along the way, he finds many questions to consider. For example, are the modern-day hobbits on Flores like Bigfoot in the American West, possibly entirely imaginary and myth-driven? Were the original hobbits actually sentient humans, or was their proximity to the stone blades incidental? Were they direct ancestors of today's much taller Leo people? If the hobbits didn't evolve on Flores, remember the island has no non-human primates. How and when did they get there? So a very fascinating book review of Gregory Forth's amazing book. I enjoyed the book myself. I first purchased it in 2022, and I reread it last year and reviewed it on Amazon. It's one of the better recent books that has been released in the last few years. And I highly recommend it if you haven't gotten your book library. Get a hold of it and read it. It's good stuff. Watch. Bigfoot prints found on snowy New York State driveway. A New York State man was left scratching his head when he noticed what appeared to be a pair of sizable prints on his snowy driveway, and some suspect the source of the curious markings may have been Sasquatch. The intriguing impressions were discovered by Bill Helms, who serves as the lead investigator for the Catskill Area Society of Paranormal Education and Research. Detailing the odd find in the video seen below, posted on the group's Facebook page. He had just returned from work and was bringing his recycling bin back to his house when he spotted a weird shape resembling a large footprint in the snow. Where's the video? Oh, here it is.
Hello, Facebook. This is Bill from Casper. So I came home from work about 5:30, and I came home and I didn't notice anything until I was just walking to take the garbage back in when I saw this on the ground. Hopefully you guys can see this. A lot of these are my own tire tracks. There's the thing for the this is the grate for the recycling bag. Hold on, I gotta leave my... Let me just turn this car on.
Turn your light on so we can see.
Then the lights will stay on. They keep going off on me. Okay. I came home. This is where I pulled in, backed up, and then eventually went back that way. And I just happened to, as I was dragging the the recycling bin, I noticed this over here. I'm like, what the hell is this? I have no idea, but it looks like it's got some crazy imprints on it. I laid a tape yardstick down like this. It's 21 inches long, and it appears there's another depression right here.
that could be nothing more than some other mark. That doesn't look like a footprint to me. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. Looks like some kind of other imprint or impression. Doesn't look like a Sasquatch footprint to me.
So I came back out here to measure the gate to see how long it is, and this is 36, and that is about 34 inches of a gate between that one and that one, the depression.
Why do we not see the other one more clearly?
Right around here. So it's 36 inches. It is going across. It is.
And why only 2?
Approximately 7 inches across, 21 inches long.
Again, my question is, why are there only 2 imprints? If it's snowy like it is, which it is, why only 2 imprints? Where did the imprints come from? They would have had to have come from somewhere if it was a legitimate Sasquatch trackway. There's only 2. So I'm very skeptical of this. I'm not going to say that it's hoaxed. I don't know if it's hoaxed or not. But I don't think those are Sasquatch footprints. I just don't think that. I just don't believe that at all. There's only 2 of them. Where is the trackway? The entire trackway. I mean, I could see the possibility of any other kind of footprints being wiped out, but why were those 2 not wiped out by other footprints and other tire tracks? Doesn't make any sense. Unless it's just a misidentification, which I think that's what this is in this case. So I would say to the Catskill Area Society for Paranormal Education and Research, better luck next time. Finally, this is an update for tomorrow, for Wednesday, January 15th, 2025. Salt Fork Lodging update for the Ohio Bigfoot Conference, May 3rd, 2025. Lodging will be available to book on Wednesday, tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern by calling 800-282-7275. The reservation staff has been out with the flu for the past few weeks and won't be up to full capacity until that week, so please be patient. There's a 2-night minimum stay. Booking code is Bigfoot. The rate is good from Wednesday, May 1st. Actually, that should say Thursday, May 1st through Monday, May 5th. Any excessive room bookings will not be allowed without consent of the Ohio Bigfoot Conference Salt Fork 2025. Send a PM to the page if you have any questions. Thank you. So, it was supposed to be last Wednesday, but what happened was a lot of the staff at Salt Fork had been down with the flu. So, Mark moved it up to this upcoming Wednesday, which is tomorrow. So tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Mountain, and 7 a.m. Pacific is when folks can call Salt Fork and get a reservation, hopefully get a reservation and get a room or a cabin if you want a cabin at Salt Fork for the Ohio Bigfoot Conference 2025. So I say good luck. Hopefully we can all get rooms, those of us who are going to the OBC, which I am, by the way. Hopefully we can get a room or a cabin. So just cross your fingers, get your good luck charm, whatever you got to do, and hopefully you'll be able to get a room or a cabin at Salt Fork for the Ohio Bigfoot Conference 2025. And that's going to do it for this week. We want to thank you very much for tuning in. You guys are the heart of the show. I always say that, but I always mean it. And I will continue to do this as long as you guys want me to. And for 10 years now, 10 years I've been doing this. And I've enjoyed every second of it. And I know there's a lot of you guys who leave comments on my videos, and I appreciate it. Guys like Kentucky Fried Fixes, a.k.a. Chris Bennett, and Tennessee Cherokee, and Long Live Crow. They're usually the ones that leave comments on my videos, so I really appreciate the comments. Really appreciate the good feedback. And hey, until next week, we'll be back on a regular schedule of Wednesday. Y'all be good or be good at it. It's HBM's Crypto Corner.